Hey everybody, welcome back to Around the World in 80 Oysters. My name is Julie Chu from In a Half Shell. I'm an oyster blogger and Instagrammer and all-around oyster addict. And I decided to start the show. This is our third episode, I believe, to just try and show everybody kind of different oyster cultures and cuisines and ways of appreciation from around the world. I think that's one of my favorite things about oysters is actually traveling for them. But since I can't do that right now, the next best thing is to bring you people who can talk to you about the oysters in their country. So for this episode, we are going to explore Mexico. And I had actually the opportunity to go down to Baja, California in 2017 and meet with Chef Drew Deckman, who is our special guest. Chef Drew is known for his amazing restaurant in the Guadalupe Valley called Deckman's. And also he has this great little oyster bar called Conchas de Piedra. So I'm going to bring Drew on. Hey, Drew.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Julie.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Cool. It's so good to have you. I just told everybody, kind of your two restaurants, although I know that you have more. I'd love for you to, kind of just kick it off and tell us why Baja, why Mexico, why oysters, why seafood. Just give us a quick rundown of your whys.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I've been in Mexico 15 years. Spent 10 years in Europe. I have a degree in philosophy, so that's why I boil water for a living. There's, not much else you can do. But I cooked 10 years in Europe and then got into commercial fishing and professional sport fishing. And so I actually moved to Baja California 15 years ago, sight unseen, to Los Cabos, because Cabo was a place where I had, there's some opportunity at a billfish 365 days a year. And it was also a place where I could cook on a level that I was accustomed to.
And where are you originally from?
I grew up in Georgia, born in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Yeah. So I found about 10 years ago, maybe a little more, I visited Guadalupe Valley, where I live now, which is about 800 miles north from Cabo. And basically I visited it and immediately fell in love. Just thought, if you look at the peninsula that's on the map, it's bigger than Italy in scope. It's just over 1,000 miles long from Tijuana to Cabo. There's 2,700 miles of coastline from Tijuana to the mouth of the Colorado River. So it's just geographically enormous. And oh, by the way, I'm because I can't cheers with you. I'm drinking some Guadalupe, some Baja wine.
I really should have something
cheers.
in my hand as well. But,
and I fell in love with the area. So it's where I am. We're 85 miles south of the border. We're 10 miles, essentially 12 maybe, as a crow flies from the ocean. And we have a very, very privileged Mediterranean climate that not only allows us to produce, unbelievable ranch products and farming, dairy, bees, you name it. But Ensenada is one of the most important seafood landing ports of all of Mexico. And it's sort of the central exit spot for a lot of the fisheries from the entire peninsula. So it's as a chef, it's the perfect, it's the confluence of everything you can imagine. We make our own olive oil. We have sea salt from San Felipe. We have, we don't use anything that's imported in our restaurant. So everything is Mexican. And, we're trying to get as close to, 100% growing our own vegetables. Right now, we're 85%. We grow our own. I know we keep bees. We make olive oil. It's just really trying to be vertically integrated as far as the restaurants are concerned.
Well, tell me a little bit more about Conchas de Piedra, because when I went down there, I didn't have an opportunity to check that out. But I went to Deckman's, and is there just more of an oyster focus at Conchas?
So in Conchas de Piedra, we only serve mollusks.
Okay.
So it's got to come out of a shell essentially. Sometimes we cheat and we sneak an octopus in there, which is technically a mollusk, but
Okay.
but it's very, very concentrated on oysters.
Okay.
So we do at any time between 5 and 7 different kinds of Baja oysters. We only serve Baja oysters.
Wait, why is that?
And well, because that's what we do in all our restaurants. I only want to, if it's, I live in a place that has 2,700 miles of coastline. Why would I import something from someplace else?
That's true.
I mean, there's no need to have something cross a border or come from someplace else.
Well, I
Baja,
mean, are there other oysters grown in other parts of Mexico that are worth
yeah,
noting?
but that's, sort of our mission statement, our line that we want to follow is celebrating Baja.
Okay.
And so we don't bring shrimp from other places. We don't, it's everything is Baja produced, and if it's not, then we don't put it on the menu.
Got it. Well, I mean, I guess can you tell me a little bit more about Mexican seafood culture in general, and especially how locals view raw oysters or even cooked oysters? I guess what role do oysters play in the culinary scene?
I think that in coastal areas, oysters have always been important. Ensenada, as a food culture, Baja North, is a very shellfish centric food culture.
Okay.
We have peasmode clams and surf clams, chocolatas, and
Oh, yes.
Venus clams, and then oysters, and abalone farms, sea urchin, gooseneck barnacles. I mean, all these things are coming from right around us, and so Baja as a food culture has always been shellfish centric. Even the research done on pre-Hispanic indigenous people who were hunter-gatherers, most of those populations were centered near coastlines or any other freshwater ability, and a lot of them were clam harvesters and wild oysters, and they decided on mollusks essentially, which is kind of cool. But in other parts of Mexico, especially in the interior, I think the oyster consumption is a recent thing that has arrived with, overnight logistics.
Okay.
It's not something
Thank you,
that
FedEx.
right. No, there's a couple of companies that are really, really good about moving fresh sea. Sargas, another company is called Hamat, which really gets into the interior, to cities, to people. I know there's a lot of companies now. I think even Baja Shellfish Farms is doing home delivery in some cases, and just gives you the ability to move a product that is not necessarily shelf stable, unless it's we've got a limited amount of time from the time we come out of the water until we eat it.
True.
That we still feel comfortable eating it raw.
Right.
So the faster I can get it to you, the better I am, right?
Sure. By the way, I always forget to mention this to people who are watching, is you are welcome to ask questions using the comment section.
But ask Julie. She knows a lot more than me.
I mean, they might have a burning question, a chef questions that I would never be able to answer. So we'll see. So if you have a question, please put them on screen. And if we, for some reason, can't see them or read them right now, I know that there's a little bit of lag. We'll answer them later. So this, so switching gears here, I know you said like most of the oyster consumption is on the coast.
Has been, and now Mexico City,
okay.
You get phenomenal oysters from all over the place. Guadalajara has, a really famous oyster bar there. Monterrey, I mean, any place that has an airport essentially is receiving fresh shellfish from. Most of it's from Ensenada, but there are some other growers in other states that are coastal, Sinaloa, Sonora, a little farther south. There are some Gulf Gulf of Mexico growers. Those are Virginicos as opposed to the Gigas.
Oh, interesting.
Because of the water. It's a way warmer water. It's a way different. It's the same thing when one farm tries to, let's see if we can do Pacifics on the Atlantic side, or somebody brings Virginicos, to the Pacific Northwest. It's sort of like, I mean, you're sort of, pissing off the Merwar gods, and why not respect where the rocks should be, coming from?
Right. Well, okay, well, so going back to the oyster enthusiasts now, I mean, do you see any, I guess, communities that have been forming? Are there any like special events? I know that there is a really cool one in Ensenada. Like, is that the only one?
That's huge.
Is that...
It's the biggest one I know of. It's called Conchas de Vinos Nuevos, and it's a Provino event that used to be one day, and now it's turned into a week. And it's amazing. It's just, it's in the spring. This year it's been rescheduled, so we don't know when it's going to be. So in the past, it's been, when the water's at its coldest, so the oysters are at their best. It's unfortunately during the sea urchin closure, so that doesn't really show up. There's a for breeding purposes or for reproduction purposes, they close sea urchin for 4 or 5 months here. And it's amazing. Every single oyster grower is there. People that are seeding gooey ducks, people that are growing the abalone, mussels, clams. I mean, everything that is a mollusk from Baja California is being represented at this festival. And I think last year there were almost 3,000 people at this thing.
Holy cow! And most of them big. Are from other parts of Mexico, or
a lot are from, probably half are Americans.
Oh, really?
Coming down from Los Angeles, San Diego.
Secrets out.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, I think. And then and a lot of people are coming from Mexico City. They're coming from Guadalajara, coming from the places that people travel from. And
so if someone wanted to find this out and Google it, what should they be searching for?
I think the website is provinoac.org.
Okay.
But you can also just put Provino in Google, or Provino AC. AC is like Asociación Civil, which is like a NGO essentially.
Yeah.
And so that's the wine conglomeration that puts on these big events. Okay. And yeah, if you can get here for Conchas, it is unreal.
That was so fun when I went. It was like a kid in a candy shop.
Well, and we invite guest chefs, and so we do these these thematic dinners each. I have a 2-year-old son.
That's cool.
Because of that event.
Oh, I see.
There's a lot of zinc in oysters.
Amazing. Well, okay, so then, actually, I remember when you first emailed me. This is years ago, and I went back to that email. You said that you developed your love for oysters after cooking in Europe for a long time. Yeah. And I'm just curious, like, how is working with oysters in Mexico different or similar to your experience working with them in Europe?
Well, for one thing, they're a lot less expensive here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that allows you to have a couple of dozen as opposed to 6, right? And but just, I mean, the between the belons and the fin de clairs and the Marennes oysters, and there's just such a reverence, such a respect for these oysters in France, especially. And then I worked in Hamburg, south of Hamburg, for a while in Germany, and we were getting the Zilt oysters from the island in the northwest up in the North Sea, and these oysters are phenomenal. And German oysters, nobody would think about that, but it's just really, really, really high-end oysters. And the same thing, packed in these beautiful wooden boxes with the seaweed, with the cinch trap, so the oysters can open during transit if they wanted to. Every single one of them arranged, with the shell cup side down, and the way oysters should be transported.
Yeah.
And then to just see these, just the respect also when you prepare it, where you're not doing anything. Basically, we're showing you the freshest, most amazing seafood that we can present to you. And if you want to put sauce on it, that's your problem, but I'm not going to do it. Right? I want you to see and smell this oyster like it is coming out of the water. And that's also how, I learned to start chucking there. I learned working for Paul Bocuse how to open oysters. And
is that knowledge that you had to bring to...
got my little Frenchy knife, with the, and it's just really easy. You just kind of go on the side and trying to get this in the camera.
Well, did you have to bring that knowledge to Mexico? Like, was there, to train your staff? Did they know any of this, or did you have to start from scratch, really?
I think it's not that the beautiful Baja oyster.
Amazing.
So
I'm so
it's
jealous right now. I'm just like sitting here with no wine. My oysters
just wait.
Are in
it's gonna get worse.
Oh.
So no, it's different, Julie. It's not. You can't. I don't think you can take one culture and expect those food traditions and apply it to another culture. Say, well, God, the French are so much better at oysters than you. It's not like that.
Okay.
I don't. I never. I think as a chef, I think each restaurant has their own sort of level of respect for ingredients, no matter what they are. And if you can teach your cooks how to respect an oyster, or how to respect a fresh fish, or how to respect fresh vegetables or lettuces coming straight from the garden, I think it's a philosophy that goes sort of across the playing field. And of course, I brought some of the things that
people kind of what you can expect.
Beautiful. Look at those.
Yeah, I mean, those were what we had when I was at your restaurant.
Okay, so you got a mix of a couple of different ones there. It looks like.
Yep, I think they were the kumiyais and their kumamotos.
I think there may be two little, because I think that was pre-pai pai.
Yeah.
So you've got maybe some XLs, and then you've got kumiyais, and then the really small ones look like there's a couple of kumamotos on there.
Yeah.
But
oh, by the way, I posted this on Instagram, and I told people that I would disclose what is actually on these oysters. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's a pink peppercorn mignonette. So it's red wine vinegar, shallot, and so pink peppercorn trees are indigenous here to Baja California and Southern California. So we just go and pick the pink peppercorns off the trees and grind them up, and that goes in the mignonette. So
and the purple?
The purple looks like it's borage. Okay. Just a petal of a borage flower.
Beautiful.
The oyster flower.
And then you can see, I guess this is Baja shellfish, where these oysters are coming from.
Right, that's ojo de liebre. And so the more tumbled oysters are farther out, which receive a little more wave action.
So these guys?
Farther, yeah. So as you're looking away from where the photo's oriented, like deeper into the picture, right? And so you're closer to the shore from the point of view.
Oh, okay.
So the oysters get moved based on wave action, their size, whether they're going to be the really luxury tumbled ones, or the kumiyais, which are sort of semi-tumbled, and then based on the size, because the closer you come in, there's the longer they're out of the water during the tide cycle. Yeah. So they're not concentrating on shell growth; they're concentrating on depositing meat inside, and so.
So these are the tumbling bags, kind of.
Yeah.
I kind of remember this building, sort of in the distance. I just remember just being pulled out of bed at 4 morning when it was totally dark out.
Right.
I'm going to see this, and I was not prepared mentally, physically, at all. But it was fun, memorable.
Yeah, it's beautiful,
Awesome.
beautiful down there for sure.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't get a chance to show like exactly where this is in comparison to Ensenada, but it is quite south of Ensenada.
I think it's like 400 miles south of Ensenada. Yeah. It's about an 8-hour drive to Guerrero Negro. And Guerrero Negro is right at the middle point of the peninsula.
Yeah.
So where the farm is actually in Baja North, but the city of Guerrero Negro is in Baja California Sur, in southern state.
Yeah.
Which is, and there's a latitude that goes across there that separates the two, and Baja Sur is less populous and way more desert than the north, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I think we're like at time. This is technically supposed to be a 20-minute show, and I'm just going to take a look at, see if anybody has any questions. And surely, yes, there is. There's actually one related to this moment in time, which is, oh my gosh. I'll just surface this. So Seed is asking, are oyster sales affected over there due to COVID?
Oh wow, okay, yeah. Based on the health ministry encouraging to eat cooked food and avoid raw food. I think if you're in a high risk group for raw food in general, I think it's an issue. Our oyster consumption in the oyster world right now is being affected because the restaurants are closed. The distributors aren't working. So a lot of the oyster growers have started direct sales to homes. I know Baja Shellfish Farms has a program in the U.S. where they can ship to any state, I think, in the Union. And it's just getting going in Mexico. But I think, they still have to tend the farms. They still have to be there. These are the first oysters that I got for our visit today together. They're the first oysters I've acquired in 4 weeks since we shut down the restaurant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, my oyster consumption has gone to zero just because the restaurant's not open.
Yeah, but I do think, like, from my end, I see a lot of farmers who used to traditionally sell to restaurants are now doing direct to consumer. And if you're in the States, by the way, and want to order oysters, I have a whole database of them at oyster.guru/shop. So it's just kind of a running list of people who are offering
That's cool.
direct to your door oysters. Okay, well, last question, as you enjoy your amazing wine and oysters, and I'm here with nothing, is let's say, I guess money aside, money is not an issue. What if you could travel anywhere in the world to try their local oysters, where would you go?
Wow, man, that's a tough one to answer because
first thing that comes to your head.
Baja California. I live here. I live in paradise. I live where my favorite oysters are.
Okay, second place that you would want to go.
Probably New Zealand.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of phenomenal things about New Zealand oysters, and because of the temperatures of the water and the currents and how rich they are, and plus it's a place that I've always wanted to visit. So, yeah. But it'd be definitely number 2, because if you already live in paradise, there's not a lot of need to go someplace else, and that's I think that's what Baja California is. I think that's what Baja wines are. I think that's what Baja shellfish are, and it's the reason why I made my home here.
That's true. Well, thank you so much for hanging out, Drew, and for your wisdom, and I hope that you guys stay safe down there.
Thank you.
Clearing your well-provisioned.
Yep. Now we got the farms with the restaurant closed. We have an abundance of food that we've been donating to not only our staff but other people here in the community in need. So it reestablishes my idea to be off the grid as the right decision.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I should have been a doomsday prepper now.
Yeah. Any of those guys you made fun of before, it's like, oh wow, they had it totally dialed in.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks so much.
Thank you, Julie. Let's do it again sometime soon.
Sounds good. All right. Well, that is Drew Deckman. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if we didn't get a chance to answer your question, don't worry. We'll try and answer them in the comments, like in text afterwards. Because I know that there is a little bit of a lag between the video and the comments coming in. A little bit of a housekeeping. So next week, I'm just putting together an email and the full schedule to be published online. But just a sneak preview, we're going to have Tomoko Braganza from Japan, and Ewan McAsh from Australia, and Yiran Davies from Thailand, who will be talking about oyster culture in their respective countries. So tune in. They're all at different times, but even if you can't make it live, you can always catch it afterwards. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching.